This is Dr. Tony Akers with Your Inner Wellness on IntellectualRadio.com. And we're back today talking about how to use essential oils. And I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Audrey Lee.
Hey, Tony. It's so good to be back this week just to share a few more nuggets about how health is theirs. It's already in their hands.
Amen. Amen. We're going to do a quick recap on what we talked about last Monday, because I know we really peeled back that onion on how to use essential oils. We also had our wonderful Dr. Cortez in the studio with us last Monday, and we are going to invite him back. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that, because when he comes back, he's going to really get into how to body test and how to get into understanding your energy levels and which energy center is blocked. So be looking for that in the future. With that being said, we're going to get right into what an essential oil is. We talked about it a little bit last Monday. We talked about the history of essential oils, and we talked about the difference between aromatherapy as well as the fragrant oils. What I want to do is I want to just kind of dive right into the different applications. We talked about direct applications, and as a recap on that, we talked about how you can apply the oils directly to an area, whether it be on the temples with the peppermint, or if you wanted to put it on your stomach, or if you wanted to put it on an insect bite. The different oils and the different ways that you can do that is just to put it directly on an area. And I know Audrey talked about a lot how when she was suffering with cancer, how many years ago was that, Audrey?
You know, on the 18th of this month, it'll be 29 years.
Wow. And I know you shared how you used essential oils and you applied it directly to your person as well. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, my journey a little bit different, because when I was using essential oils, they weren't even these oils, so the power of them weren't the magnitude. But the real issue was my mother-in-law when she had colon cancer.
Wow.
And we got to apply them right on her feet. You know, as you talked about last week about directly applying them into the reflex points with the special therapies that you can do. That is so true, that when we applied them to her feet, because we couldn't touch any part of her body, she was laying there with tubes everywhere. And so even if we did, how would you even know? The liver is in a certain area on the body. You don't know whether you should or couldn't touch. And coming in as a layperson, it was kind of hard telling my daughter, when you go in, just put the oils on the bottom of her feet. Well, where, how could I do that? Just put them on her feet. They'll get to where they need to, because they're smart. They have an intelligence too. I mean, it's not like we have to train the plants up. So, they are educated. They're already inundated with what they already need. So using those three, frankincense was one, rubbing them on her feet 3 days, kidneys working on their own, 7 days out of coma. Here we are 4 years later.
Wow. That is truly a testimony. And I know a lot of people that I talk to, because I work in a salon, with a natural hair salon, and sometimes people ask about applying the essential oils the different ways. What if this happens? What if that happens? And one of the questions that came up, what if it turns your skin red? What do you do? And I always tell my clients, just dilute it with some type of carrier oil. And some of the carrier oils that you can do that with is with the coconut oil, the jojoba oil, olive oil. And I know with doTERRA, we carry a coconut oil.
Yeah, fractionated. And for some people that may not know what that means, it's a coconut oil with no fat in it. So the fat has been extracted out, so that when you put it on, it's hypophilic, just like the actual oils, so that they're not oily or greasy. Some people, I don't want to get that stuff all over my clothes, and it doesn't. It just goes right into the skin.
Wow. Also, I know that doTERRA carries a product. It's called Deep Blue, and an essential oil that's called Deep Blue. And I used it myself most recently. I work at a salon, and I'm on my feet all day long. And I happen to have flat feet. So if I'm standing on my feet all day, and my feet are hurting by the end of the day, I tried the deep blue, and I tell you that stuff worked instantly. It wasn't like I had to wait an hour or two. I just massaged it into the bottom of my feet, and my feet instantly felt better.
Oh, happy
So,
day, huh?
yeah. So, if any of you all who are listening, who are, you're on your feet all day, you have people that work in cafeterias, you have doctors and nurses and people that do hair. They're on their feet all day long, whether you have flat feet or not. You may find that your feet are aching, or if you're doing stuff like working out and your body is aching, or if you lifted something and you threw a muscle, or you have back pain or any of that. That I promise you, using the deep blue is really going to, because of the essential oils that are in the deep blue, it gets in there and it actually deals with that inflammation, because that's what you're dealing with that inflammation. And most of the times when you're having any kind of pain, that's your body giving you a signal of saying that there's something that needs to happen differently. And when you apply that essential oil that has those anti-inflammatory properties in it, it instantly go in there and it soothes that inflammation. So that was a happy day for me.
That's good.
Now I want to get into um, inhaling essential oils. People ask me all the time, how does that really work? And they're very skeptical about how inhaling anything can be so beneficial and so healing to the body. And what I did was I did just a little bit of research on a few things that we inhale that can negatively impact our health. So if you're inhaling stuff that can negatively impact your health, it has to be something that you can inhale to make life better for you. So the first thing that I came up with was smoke. Even if you're not a smoker and you're inhaling secondhand smoke, that alone can irritate the lungs, and it can actually cause disease. If you do your research, you'll find that a lot of people that have lung cancer get it from inhaling secondary smoke.
Yeah.
Or even if someone was ever in a fire and they didn't get any degree burns on them, they end up in the hospital because they've had smoke inhalation issues. It can negatively impact asthma, or it can be an onset of asthma and allergies. And there's another one that I looked up, something called sulfur dioxide. Now, sulfur dioxide is in a lot of different products. It's in products that we use in our hair, especially in relaxers. And it's found in a lot of things that we use around the house, like certain aerosols. And we're actually breathing that stuff in. And what that can do just breathing that in, it can actually irritate the throat and the nose. It can cause people to cough and wheeze. It can also cause difficulty in breathing, a shortness of breath, chest pains, tightening in the chest, nauseation, and vomiting. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. Just listening to you kind of break that down, just to go back up to smoking alone, you don't even have to be smoking a cigarette. How about the smoke that comes from you barbecuing outside? That's very, very toxic. And unfortunately, it smells good when we're barbecuing, but even though that smoke is going up in the air and you're there around it, you've been around a barbecue grill and your dad or shoos you away or whatever the case is. But the sad part of that is, even after that smoke has gone away and we charred that meat, now we eat it, you might as well smoke, as I was told in the research I have from PCRM.org. That's equivalent to actually smoking 600 cigarettes, eating a steak that's been barbecued. Now, when people say, well, I don't, you'll hear people say, well, she didn't even smoke and she's got lung cancer. What, did she eat any barbecued meat? Barbecued, vegetable? What do you eat? We need to open the door and really let people know the real deal, because these are the things that are actually, putting blinders on our eyes, like, well, if they don't know that, they don't have to, they don't need to be concerned. But they really do, because I remember having a salon and you talked about the salon smells. Do you remember the smell of those chemicals when people were getting perms? All that stuff. I mean, just memory. I mean, God knew what he was doing.
yes.
So he had to provide. I got to speak last night at an event called Limitless Women. And we want to be limitless in everything that we're Proverbs 31 women. We've been equipped for awesome call. However, We are turning off all of the things that we need to keep our bodies whole and well. When we think about before we got here, God creating this planet and put plants here before we got here so they would be grown and mature to use. And now look at us now. We're suffering with diseases that man has given names to, and we own them. I got diabetes. I got high blood pressure. I got high cholesterol. And they do because they don't know this, Tony.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I really want to unpack a little bit more about air fresheners because I know people use a lot of air fresheners in their home, whether they be aerosols or plug-ins.
So true.
Yeah. And according to the U.S. Center for Disease and other organizations, the chemicals that are found in air fresheners can cause diseases in testosterone. So men really need to be mindful of when using any type of air fresheners. It can really negatively impact your testosterone, and it also can cause malfunctioning of the genitals, and it can reduce sperm production.
Dr. Tony, who would have thought of that now? And I mean, look, they say, I think I want it funky now. They don't want no spray, no way.
Right.
Oh,
So
that's sad.
Maybe a lot of people that may be on the blue pill, the Viagra, if they just look at what they're using in their home as far as the air fresheners, maybe if they get rid of that, then they won't need the blue pill. But also by the state of, according to the state of California, it was known causes that the air fresheners were causing birth defects in newborns, and it was also harming the reproductive organs of women from the air freshener. So all air fresheners are also linked to allergy symptoms and asthma. And it's funny because I have a nephew that have asthma, and I was talking to my sister the other day, and I was asking her, I said, well, do you use air fresheners like the different Febrezes and different things like that? She was like, well, yeah, I do. I said, well, you need to, if you got the essential oils, you can make spritzers too. You can just put some water.
Not that you drink, correct that now. Say not the ones you drink.
Right. You can make your own air fresheners by simply putting the water in a spray bottle with a couple of drops of essential oils, and you can spray that in the air and it will freshen the air, and it's also a lot more healthier for your respiratory and your testosterone and different things like that. You won't have to worry about the different side effects of an actual air freshener. So I kind of wanted to put that out there. And one other thing I want to say about things that you can breathe in that is negatively affecting millions of people is mold. And we talked about mold last Monday.
Yep. How
mold and fungus have many things in common. Most of them are unpleasant, musty, odor, damp. And sometimes you can, basements and moldy carpet and water leaks and soggy drywall can really be the culprit of mold. And people are breathing this mold in on a regular basis. And it is very, very hazardous to the health. And it gives you flu-like symptoms. A lot of times people think they have the flu, and they don't. And they can't get rid of what they call, quote unquote, the flu. And it could be mold. They have the runny nose, the itchy throat, the sinus congestion, the wheezing, the difficulty breathing and coughing. But what I like to say is the essential oil has a positive effect on the body if you begin to breathe it in. So what we're going to do is take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how using essential oils, just to inhale them, how it can be positive to your health. Again, you're listening to Dr. Tony Akers with your Into Wellness on Intellectual Radio, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to You're in the Wellness. This is Dr. Tony Akers with Audrey Lee, and today we're talking about how to use essential oils. I want to take the time to thank my sponsors, C&W Plumbing and Son. If you have any problems with your plumbing or need a new bathroom, please call Adele at 708-268-6489. So we're going to dive right into the positive effect of inhaling essential oils. I want to start off with my favorite oil, which is the peppermint. I use a peppermint for a lot of different ailments, such as nauseation or, to freshen your breath or anything like that. But one of the main reasons why I use peppermint essential oils is for inhaling for headaches. It's really, really good for headaches. It's really good to, if you're tired, long night. I know some people, when they're driving, they take what's something called no-dose. But if you keep peppermint in your car, your purse, or on your person, you can you can actually breathe in peppermint to help not only wake you up, but also to help deal with a headache. And the way that you do it is because, I want to explain this because peppermint is very powerful and you don't want to get it into your eye. So what you would do is you will take one drop and put it in the palm of your hand, and then you will rub your palms together, palm to palm, avoiding the fingers, not getting the peppermint on your fingers, and then just cupping your hands and using it as your own personal, I would say your own personal diffuser. You put it up to the nose, and then you just breathe in and breathe out. And just by inhaling that peppermint, it deals with the inflammation that could be causing the headache. It deals with the stress that could be causing that headache. It deals with the fatigue and the I call it stress that is causing that headache. And the peppermint is so soothing that as you inhale it and exhale exhale that peppermint, it causes the headache to go away. Also, if you were inhaling the peppermint for those who work out, because actually when you work out, you're putting stress on the body, and it can also change your mood. So when you're actually inhaling the peppermint, it boosts your mood and it helps to reduce the fatigue. And again, there's a lot of different ways that you can use peppermint, but because we're talking about inhaling the oils, I'm going to just kind of stick to that right now because there is 100 other ways I can tell you how to use that peppermint. Another oil that I really like to stress, well, there's two oils I want to talk about that's very good for inhaling. One is bergamot. Now we're dealing with so much in the city of Chicago and then just around the world with death and murder and with all of the all lives matter. It's just so to me our land is just under so much stress and under so much demonic attack that people are starting to take more antidepressants. And a lot of the antidepressants that are on the market, one of the side effects is suicide.
Yeah.
So here it is, you're taking something to make you feel better, but it could cause you to kill yourself. I mean, to me, that is like an oxymoron. It doesn't really make sense. But with the bergamot, you can actually sniff the bergamot, and it can actually help deal with that depression. It can help to eradicate or to turn your mood around from being sad or depressed to more joy in your life. Another one is lavender. We talked about lavender last week, or how you can sniff lavender in. It helps with reducing stress, fatigue, and for those who work in corporate America, they deal with bosses who are not fair, or you deal with situations that you feel like you're being mistreated. You may need to take that lavender to work with you to that corporate environment to help you cope with some of the things that you are faced with. And Audrey, one of the things I want to also say is that people always ask me, well, how does that really work? I really want to believe you. I really want to get into sniffing essential oils, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense how it actually physically is. I want you to kind of talk to our listening audience and kind of unpack how sniffing essential oils, how does it work scientifically?
Yeah, it's amazing how powerful smell is. And God created smell for a purpose. If we think about even being in the garden was placed there for a purpose, and we were supposed to smell the beauty or the aromas to remind us of Him. And think about what I said, remind our memory. It's so
Yeah.
key. But the fastest way to get to our memory is through smell. Think about when a baby is a baby and in the womb, even. The baby smells mom, so even when it comes out, it knows its mother from her smell. So some of these things, when I went to some of the trainings for essential oils, I'm going to read what it talks a little bit about, a little bit more of a scientific point of view, because God created, so science is trying to catch up with what God put in place. If you think about, I remember when I moved here, my family, when they would come visit, they would say, your house Jersey. The smell of it did, the aroma of it did, because something in my home smelled like when they visited New Jersey. You may have your children say that to you, Mom, it smells like grandma's cooking, or whatever the case is, but smell is really important to us, and we need to know that. And it's so powerful, just like you mentioned before, people that sniff drugs, the memory of that, they can't get away from it. It keeps drawing them back to go back and sniff some more. But when you talked about bergamot, that is the sniffing oil that my brother used to eradicate his heroin addiction.
Wow.
Bergamot. I didn't know what was in bergamot. I went back and looked at the constituents and the purpose of bergamot.
Mm-hmm.
That all the things that bergamot had were the things he complained about. So God knew what he was doing. So here's something that it says. It says, as the vapors of essential oils are inhaled, they immediately travel to the limbic center of the brain, where they have been profound effects on the mood, the emotion, alertness, and other functions controlled by the central part of the brain. That's what the thought. God knew what he was doing. Inhalation also allows the antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral properties of the oils to be delivered directly into the respiratory organs. Inhalation techniques are various ways, but it talks about, even when we go further, whether we take it in a inhaler, whether we use a nebulizer, or whether we just breathe it even in the fresh air. God put that there because he wants to always be in control. So smell is one of the ways he controls our thoughts, our minds, and the things even that we do. The limbic center, which is like I have to tell you, like Dr. Barry, because he studied the brain, that's how they actually corrected a lot of things by the smell. They would cover the eyes and they'd
Mm-hmm.
have you smell something. Why would they do that? That's
Mm-hmm.
how things are tested, because smell is the first route to the brain to send memory or signal so they can actually record and get the results that they want to. So we know that smelling something negative can lead us into a negative direction. You just talked about, smelling
Air
air
freshener.
fresheners, like,
Mold.
and for mold, but I say potpourri, poopery, whatever you want to call it. If you don't want to smell your poop, put some essential oils in. So I believe that this is actually the 21st century transformation of learning about how we really can really categorize and cultivate an environment and create a wellness environment for the world by showing them and teach them how to use essential oils that God left here to transform our health.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense because as you were talking, I was just thinking about airborne disease. You know, when you're in an airplane and someone sneezes, or if you're just in a work environment and people have the flu. You know, when people things can be airborne, and then you walk into an environment where someone just recently just sneezed or coughed, and then you're in that same space, and then you're breathing in all of this bacteria, and you don't have the defense. You have not built up your immune system enough to be able to fight off that bacteria.
That protection.
Right.
You're
And
not
one thing,
protected.
right, we have something called on guard, and you know when the flu when the flu, they call it the cold and flu season. When the cold and flu season comes, it's like at the end, around about the end of October, the middle of October. The first thing you hear on different advertisement, you need to get your flu shot. You need to get your flu shot, and they say that because they want you. That's a way for you to protect yourself against these airborne bacteria. Challenge my listening audience to say that once you build up your immune system with essential oils, you would not have to be concerned about taking that route to protect yourself against the airborne bacteria. And diffusing is one of the ways. Some people say, well, you can use your hand, because you can diffuse air. With doTERRA, our oils, all of our oils, most of them are, you can diffuse them. And it allowed the oil to stay suspended in the air to reduce the bacteria, the fungus, and the mold, as well as neutralize toxins in the air. And then diffusing also freshens the air with natural fragrance. And that way you don't have to use the air fresheners that we talked about earlier. And it also helps to eliminate the need for synthetic, harmful air fresheners. Diffusers should dispense the oil without heat, because sometimes people would use the little heat lamps to diffuse the oils, but at that point they're changed the continuity of the oil, and that's something that you don't want to do. When you do that, it makes the oil less effective. So for me, especially around what they call cold and flu season, I diffuse oils that will help to not only build up my immune system, but also to help X out that bacteria that can be. What have been your experience with diffusing oils?
Okay, now you shouldn't even have gone there. Now, when my daughter was in the ICU with her problem with that pulmonary embolism, I wanted to make sure that, the hospital is the most toxic place in the world. Although they have things to sanitize and cleanse, those are still chemicals they're cleansing with. So what I did was I took a diffuser in, because you're absolutely right. You don't want to heat these oils because you change the molecule. Yes, you can cook with them, but that's the purpose of enhancing your food, but not for healing and therapeutic properties. Distilling them into the air is changing the whole molecules. You're changing the environment. You're changing the people's minds that you're working with. So you say you're in a toxic environment where you're working, you have some control over that. Bring your diffuser in, and I don't care if it's out. I mean, you could get offended by somebody's perfume, but they're diffusing the oil in there that's really changing the environment. And I was told that there's oils that you don't particularly like the smell or the fragrance. That's probably oil that your body needs. Mm-hmm. So we need to just be mindful that we're in the process of detoxing, restoring health, and building an environment for healing to take place.
Absolutely. Now, you talked a little how it goes into the brain. Now, this is something that I kind of want to talk about intellectually, that really, really want to understand a little bit more about the essential oils. And then after that, we're going to go into the internal consumption, sure that people understand when and how they can ingest unessential oils. But essential oils fall into categories. One of them are called monoterpenes. Then you have tetraterpenes, and then you have phenols. And I know that those are big words. And I'll actually spell them for you just in case you want to look them up. A monoterpene, you spell it monoterpene. Again, monoterpene, a monoterpene. And a monoterpene, and I'll give you the groupings of the monoterpene oils. These oils, toxins. It also helps to discharge, toxins. They're also anti-inflammatories. They're soothing to irritated tissues. They're good for insect repellent as well as cancer. These oils fall into that monoterpene categories. You have your citrus oils, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about ingesting, because we ingest a lot of citrus oils. Your frankincense, your ginger, your thyme, your cypress, your black pepper, those are your monoterpenes. And then we have something called tetraterpenes. Mm-hmm. And it took me a while to pronounce that word. And you spell it SEQUITERPENE. And that's a big word, guys. It's it's SEQUITERPENE. And those oils, the tetraterpene oils, those also are anti-inflammatories, but they also set. And I say that, and I pause right there, because many of our youth and our people in today's society need sedatives. And I say that because this last week at my sister's church, right after church, a husband came up to the church and shot his wife right in front of the congregation, and then he turned around and killed himself. So, and then the whole church is traumatized, not only the family members, but the church and the community. So we're having a lot more of just random shootings, and it is just really getting bad, and it's just really sad. So the tetraterpenes are good oils for sedatives. It's also bacterial, is also soothing to irritated skins and tissues for liver, gallbladder, for gallbladder stimulation. Some of our gallbladders are very sluggish, so these oils that fall into the tetraterpene category is really good for stimulating your glandular system, rather, not just your gallbladder, but your entire glandular system. So you're talking about the myrrh, the ginger, cedarwood, black pepper, the patchouli, the ylang-ylang, the helichrysum, and the cedarwood. And then real quick, we have the phenol oils, and those are antimicrobial. They support your immune system, which is very important when it comes down to bacteria. The bacteria that we're dealing with today, Audrey, is very aggressive. Now people are getting a cold, and their cold lasts for 2 weeks, or they get the flu and it lasts for an entire month.
If they don't know what it is, you could be taking something for the wrong thing. And that's why I said when we had Dr. Cortez here and I did the connection I made with him, people are treating their bodies for something that they don't even have.
That's terrible. So with the phenols, you got the frankincense. And I love frankincense. Frankincense is like the big daddy oil. You can use that for a lot of different things. And then you have the melaleuca, of course, the lavender, and the geranium. So, we're going to get more into oil categories and what they do and when you should take this oil for that and when you should take an oil for this. But what we're going to do is take a real quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the internal consumption of essential oils. Again, you're listening to Dr. Tony Akers with Your Inner Wellness, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Akers with Your Inner Wellness and your Intellectual Radio. So we're back. We're going to be getting right into inhalation. We've already talked about direct application. We talked about inhalation. We talked about diffusing. Now we're going to talk about how to take essential oils internally. And I really want you guys to listen carefully, because essential oils is the first medicine. So you can't take it lightly. You can't just be willy-nilly taking essential oils internally. You have to know what you're doing. Certain oils be taken internally on the tongue or dripped into an empty vegetable capsule, which you can get from a health food store or pharmacist, and a drop of oil or a drop of oil in a glass of water. Always check the reference guide. Just remember 2 safety rules. So when I say your reference, your essential oils, and if you get them from doTERRA, of course, they will come with a guide. You don't have to guess. It takes all the guesswork on how many drops of oil or how you should take at any given time. But there's 2 things I want you to keep in mind when it comes down to safety, when it comes down to your oils. 1, do not apply or get essential oils into your ear canal, down the canal. You don't want to put oils in your canal. You want to get them in your eye, of course, or in the nose. These are the most sensitive areas of the body, and essential oils contain very concentrated healing components. They're very intense, so you definitely don't want to get the oils in any of those areas, the ears, eyes, or the nose. And then if your skin feels sensitive to any essential oils when used topically, you want to dilute with an oil, not with water. Because the water is going to just make them more intense. You want to dilute it with an oil. And we talked about some of the oils that you can use to dilute. We talked about the fractionated coconut oil, olive oil, jojoba oil, any kind of oil that you can find if you find yourself in a situation where you need to dilute that oil. Water will only drive the oil into your skin a lot deeper and a lot faster, so you definitely don't want to do that. So now with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit more about ingesting the oils. And I want to talk about what oils I actually use, and I'm going to read something that I kind of put together for you guys. There are many grades of essential oils on the market. Due to the lack of regulation, it is hard to know exactly what you are getting. To ensure and guarantee oils that are 100% natural and free of pesticides and chemicals and fillers and cutting agents, I would say using doTERRA would be the way to go, because I've tested there's another company that I use which was great, and I've used a different grade of oil. It was called Young Living. Their oils are very good, but I really like those because their overall marketing strategy and their overall integrity on how they test their oils. They test every single bottle of every batch of oil in an independent laboratory. So I really appreciate their integrity. And if you have ever used a synthetic and then tried a certified pure therapeutic grade essential oils, you will notice the difference by the results. And a lot of people may notice or may not notice the word doTERRA, which is spelled D-O-T-E-R-R-A, means the gift of the earth. And when you think about God's gift, and I tell people all the time, when you listen to the word essential oil, if you say it slowly, it sounds like he sent you oils. That's what it sounds like to me. He gave us humans on this earth, his natural intelligent medicine. So what I want to do is I'm going to turn it over to Audrey so she can kind of unpack even more how to ingest doTERRA essential oils.
Well, Dr. Tony, one of the things people need to first be concerned about, you mentioned taking them into a veggie capsule. Make sure, because plastic is something we need to be concerned about, that you check the type of plastic that you're putting into your body, because plastic is something we need to be concerned about. So you do want to make sure that there are no fillers or altered things done with that plastic that you're putting the essential oil in, because every plastic capsule is not created the same. Now, I do tell people to ingest oils when they're dealing with some severe situations like a flu, that's lasted a long time, a
Mhm.
person that has cancer, a person that has a very serious disease, or a person that, has been dealing with something for a very, very long time, not finding any hope in all the things that they've been doing. Taking it internally and externally is really key. For instance, when my husband had that health scare, last year, um, he didn't quite want to do all the things that I said, but he saw what happened with our daughter, and he was willing to do that. And I actually took the oils and used them in every open orifice that I could, from using them on the back of his neck, smelling it through his nose, on the back of the ear, not in the ear, but on the rim and the back, or the back part or portion of the ear, in his navel, yes, on the bottom of his feet, and also in a veggie capsule. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to make sure I capture healing happens from the inside out. I wanted to make sure I happened to work on the inside and didn't just look at the surface or the outside. So while things were working together for the good, I figured while the inside is correcting itself, the outside is showing the manifestation of what we're doing. And when we did that, he was vomiting profusely for several hours, at least about 8, almost 10 hours. When we use those oils, stop vomiting immediately. So we know that using them in these different ways that we're talking about, we haven't even really unpacked a lot. I know you've been unpacking your luggage, but we haven't really unpacked a lot
Right.
because we have so much more. We could talk about this till Jesus comes, to be honest with you, and still not get it all in. But I'm glad that, you took the time out to talk about your inner wellness, because people are not well within, and we're giving them the opportunity to know your healing hasn't come because you haven't used what God's left here, your creator, as you call the essentials, his what?
He sent you
He
oils.
sent you these oils to repair your body. So you might as well jump on in.
Amen. You know what? doTERRA has something called a family physician kit. Prior to me using oils, you could come into my medicine cabinet. You will see stuff like, I don't know, Tylenol and um, NyQuil and just all kind of stuff. But I want to mention 10 oils that I think that people should get if they want to start off and get into the essential oil world. Here are 10 oils that I want to just go over real quick on what I think you can should get, and then we'll bring it to a close. We have lavender. Lavender is for calming and stress reduction. Lemon for cleansing the mood, evaluate mood elevations, the different elevations of mood. Peppermint for indigestion and cooling. Melaleuca for soothing and healing the skin. Oregano for immune system support. Frankincense for inflammation and more. Deep blue for muscle and joint health. We have something called breathe for respiratory support. And then we have digestine for natural digestive support, and then on guard for your natural immune defense. And this is something that the whole family can use. So with that being said, that will end our show for today. And you can reach me, Dr. Tony Akers, at 331-215-4884. This is your inner wellness on Intellectual Radio. Until next time, guys, be well.